Hello there and welcome to OPTAKE, Opinions and Takes. My name is Yao AJ Minta, and on today's episode I will talk about the Ben Simmons drama. And for me, I think Ben Simmons' best destination is the Portland Trailblazers, because at the end of the day, what you want in a trade is fair value and fair worth, or balance in terms of worth. And you look at Ben Simmons, he's been linked to several teams during this offseason. Golden State Warriors, he's been linked to the likes of even the New Orleans Pelicans, he's been linked to the Sacramento Kings. But in all those cases, there are problems, there are roadblocks to a possible trade. And looking at, for instance, the Golden State Warriors, I don't see that trade happening, because the Golden State Warriors have a lot of non-shooters or non-scoring guys who will clog the lane further for Joel Embiid if a trade were to happen. So I don't see that happening, because you look at Golden State Warriors, the likes of Kevin Looney, the likes of Draymond Green, the likes of Andrew Wiggins, they aren't good three-point shooters. So that's not what Philadelphia Sixers want and they need at this moment. So I don't see that trade happening anytime soon. But the possible trade with Portland Trailblazers will work, because the main guy who is at the center of this trade would be Damian Lillard. That's on the opposite side, it will be Damian Lillard. And Damian Lillard creates a lot of space inside the paint for Joel Embiid. So a trade will definitely work for Philadelphia 76ers. But for Portland Trailblazers, a trade will also work if they get Ben Simmons, because in order to match contract value, you need to trade not just Ben Simmons for Damian Lillard. You need to add another centerpiece to the trade to make it balanced, because Damian Lillard is a step or two ahead of Ben Simmons. So you need to add Tobias Harris. And by adding Tobias Harris and placing him on the Portland Trailblazers roster, you create a situation where Portland Trailblazers can go small, and they can play a small ball lineup where you have the non-shooting Ben Simmons at center, you have Tobias Harris at power forward, Robert Covington at small forward, and Norman Powell and CJ McCollum occupying the guard positions. So in that small ball lineup, it will work. It will provide a lot of spacing to deal with any team in the Western Conference. And if the Portland Trailblazers go up against those top teams that have a lot of big players who occupy space in the post, say Rudy Gobert for the Utah Jazz, say Dwight Howard and Marc Gasol for the Los Angeles Lakers, say DeAndre Ayton for Phoenix Suns, they can play Jusuf Nurkic at the center position, and it wouldn't cause a lot of problems in the paint, because at the end of the day, they will have a lot of shooting around those two guys who don't shoot the three-point shot particularly well. That's Jusuf Nurkic and Ben Simmons, because you have the likes of Robert Covington, Norman Powell, CJ McCollum, and Tobias Harris to choose from, and pair them with Jusuf Nurkic and Ben Simmons. So you end up with a situation where you don't clog the lane. You end up with a situation where you have a lot of spacing and good balance in terms of offense and defense, because at the end of the day, looking at the past 5-6 years of Portland Trailblazers run in the playoffs, they've been undone, particularly because of their poor play on the defensive side of the court. But with Ben Simmons, he's an astute defender. He's a top defender. He ended up second in the Defensive Player of the Year voting for last season. So you know what you are getting on the defensive end of the court in Ben Simmons. And pairing him with Robert Covington, who's another stout defender, it gives the Portland Trailblazers roster balance, especially in the starting unit, for them to be able to contend with the elite teams in the Western Conference. Because let's face it, the Western Conference keeps on getting better and better and better. You look at the Los Angeles Lakers, the kind of trades that they've made, bringing the likes of Westbrook, bringing in Dwight Howard again, bringing in Trevor Ariza and Carmelo Anthony. These guys are prepped to make a deep run in the playoffs this season. And you look at the Portland Trailblazers as they are presently constructed, they don't have a team that's deep enough to make a deep run in the playoffs. And Damian Lillard has been with the team for 9 years. He's heading into his 10th season, and it's clear that he wants a ring, because at the end of the day, he's been able to make the All-Star team. He's been able to make the All-NBA teams. He recently won a gold medal with Team USA. He's definitely going to the NBA Hall of Fame. So the last thing on that checklist is getting an NBA title. And you look at the Portland Trailblazers roster as presently constructed, they are not going to get it. And for me, his inability to voice out what he really wants is he's just delaying the inevitable. And the inevitable is that he would get to a point where he wouldn't finish his career with the Portland Trailblazers. That's the team that drafted him in 2012 in the NBA draft. And so just go ahead and trade him, because if you keep him on the roster, you're just delaying the inevitable, where it will get to a point he will voice out his frustration, and then you start losing your leverage. So trade him now, trade him to the Philadelphia 76ers, who badly need a co-star who can shoot, to play alongside Joel Embiid. They've already given Joel Embiid a suitable backup in Andre Drummond, who wouldn't cause their offense to drop when eventually Joel Embiid falls down or goes down with injury. So their team is pretty much set for a deep run. They need a guy who can space the floor and who is an elite playmaker, just like Damian Lillard. The Portland Trailblazers are heading towards an inevitable end with Damian Lillard, and they need to trade him as soon as possible in order to recover as much leverage as possible. And by getting Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris, I think it's fair value for Portland Trailblazers to get in return. And for Philadelphia Sixers, once they get Damian Lillard and maybe some throw-ins in maybe CJ Elleby or Derrick Jones, I think it's fair trade for both teams, and I believe this trade should happen as soon as possible. So that's my take on this issue. You can have your take on it also. You can also share your opinions by commenting on this video. Like this page, and let's share and let's get talking. See you next week.